Pandora's box, this time in a slightly different environment, right?
Pandora's box round 2.
Round 2. Well, the first one was on a roof.
Yeah.
Now we're in a G-Wagon because we're course bro. So, I'm going to start with that because you always introduce yourself as a Jedi. I'm going to take some credit for that, if I may.
Please do.
Thank you. But like, what the fuck do you actually do?
It's a good question, and I get that question a lot. The simplest way to describe what I do is I have conversations with people, and in those conversations, their world changes, their thinking changes, who they are changes, and as a result of that, everything they do, everything they create, and how they do it changes too. And a big part of that is helping someone to change the way they see themselves and how they see their world, because the way that we see ourselves and the way we see our world informs everything that we create. And that's the most fundamental and foundational part of the process. Because there's no point in focusing on strategies and tactics and what I call doing solutions if who you are isn't actually aligned with that. So it starts with who the person is, their internal identity, their internal state, and that informs everything they do and how they do it.
And I love that you actually start with the identity. Now, this might be a bit of a loaded question, but how do you actually help someone specifically with maybe leveling up their identity so it is in alignment with who they actually want to be?
The cool thing about shifting identity is that it's innate to us. We, as humans, we shift our state all the time without even realizing it. So in some moments we may be more loving, in some moments we may be more generous or giving, right? So the way that we do things changes all the time, we just don't realize it. So a big part of understanding how to shift identity is realizing that it's already innate in us. And the fact that we can shift identity means that it's not fixed, it's not permanent, it's movable, it's changeable. And I would say the deepest thing that's helped me to see this the clearest is realizing that personality, the self, is a complete illusion. It's a complete amalgamation of thoughts, stories, beliefs that we've constructed over time and just believe it's who we are. So beginning to wake up and to have the awareness to see that the self that we're living in right now is an illusion, it's not as real as we think, will help to not take it as seriously as the truth of who we are. And from that place, we can start to see, well, what kind of identity do I want to shift or create in this moment? What kind of thinking do I want to feed or give my belief and conviction into that'll inform the states that I want to emanate? And I think the best part about this is that there is no gap. There is no gap in being able to assume an identity in any moment when we see that the self is not real, because that identity is available now as opposed to the future. So this is why there's that saying, the future is a place that we come from, not a place to get to. Because if we come from the place now, that's being that person now, living that identity now, as opposed to seeing it as a place to get to long term.
There are levels to this, let's say, or the ascension coach. How do you meet someone at a lower level or a lower paradigm, for, again, lack of a better term? How do you actually meet someone at maybe a lower paradigm, again, lack of a better term, so you can actually help them?
There's this analogy of if you're, say, playing American football and you're throwing a ball to the receiver, if you throw it too far out, they're not going to catch it, right? So you kind of have to like almost meet them where they're at. And it's a bit similar with this. So the language I'd use or how relatable I would make it to where they are right now, I won't just throw everything all at once because it's not going to land. And that's where it's important to see where someone is in their own understanding of consciousness, in their own understanding of personal development. And everything that we're talking about can become very grounded and practical when you use that kind of language. So rather than saying something like shifting your being or shifting your identity, it might be something more along the lines of what kind of character do you need to be right now? Or the person that has this life that you want, how do they feel about themselves? How do they feel inside? What kind of qualities do they emanate? And that's where it becomes a bit more practical and tangible, rather than talking about these ethereal terms, let's say.
How did you get started in this? What's your journey to ascension?
I've always been fairly introspective and, pondered deeper questions, but I'd say it really kicks off when I was very unhappy in my previous career. I was still processing a lot of past trauma and hadn't dealt with it at that point. So a lot of things culminated all at once, which invited me to just start thinking about, surely there is another way to process the trauma. Surely there is another way to create a life that I actually want, as opposed to what I thought I wanted. And that led me into just learning more about our human nature, our mind, our performance, and that's kind of what started it all off with. In essence, my own trauma and my own suffering was an invitation for me to start just looking a bit deeper.
Yeah. What's a recent learning you've had that, from maybe the mentor or an investment you've made, that's really clicked something for you?
There was a point when I would look to others as if they had something I didn't. So I would think, these people are so great, or they have something, and why don't I have that? And that was coming from a place where I wasn't seeing that whatever I was seeing in them was also in me. In essence, I was the person I was looking for. It's just I was associating it with them as opposed to me. So a big shift happened when I started to see something I might admire in someone else as that's also in me. In essence, I began to see that what if I was coming from the place where I am the one that I'm looking for? It's just I'm looking outside of myself when it's actually with me. And that's a very powerful place to come from, because you start to see that nothing is actually missing in you. It's just we convince ourselves or buy into the misconception that it is missing in us. That's why we're thinking, this person has it, but I don't. And the very act of making that shift, coming back to identity, again, you then assume that person because you realize that is me. And everything you do then flows from that. So I think seeing that I am the one that I've been looking for has been a really key thing for me, because it helps me to stop playing small in certain areas. It helps me to see that, whoever I was trying to become was actually with me the whole time.
Why do people try and become other people? Why do you think that is?
I see part of it as a way of thinking of I'm not enough. And that motivates, the majority of human behavior and everything we do, that voice of I'm not enough. And it's the way that we deal with that voice, our relationship with it, that actually makes the difference. So it can either, really jeopardize everything we're doing, or the I'm not enough can be a bit more of a tool and something we observe from time to time, but it doesn't actually define us. Because you can't, from what I've seen, you can't get rid of the voice, I'm not enough. Because it's the nature of the ego to be in insecurity. And...
You ever met someone that dropped their ego fully?
No.
Why not? Why don't they?
Because you can't function without ego. The ego is a tool that we have in this world to navigate. So it's not something that is necessarily a bad thing. It just becomes bad when we associate our entire identity with our ego, as opposed to using it as a tool that we can use to navigate through life. Because we only ever have thoughts, right? Thoughts is the governing tool we have to navigate our entire human experience in this life that we're in. It's just we don't know how to use the tool, which is why we harm ourselves with it, we limit ourselves with it, but it's just a tool to be used. So everything starts with thoughts, all ideas starts with thoughts, all actions start with thoughts. It's just we misuse the tool all of the time, which is why it causes us problems.
What should we... That was an interesting point you made, which is we identify with our thoughts. How does someone go about not identifying with their thoughts?
It's about changing our relationship with it. So it can be very, people talk about positive thinking and affirmations and, just changing how you think, and it can be useful. It's just, it can become very exhausting when you're always trying to change everything that you're thinking. And we don't control everything we think. Thought just appears, right? It just pops into our head from time to time. But we can change our relationship with it. And changing our relationship with our thinking means when thinking appears, when thought appears, and we become conscious of it or notice it, it's not taking those thoughts too seriously. And it's beginning to put less meaning, judgment, analysis into our thinking, so we begin to see it as something that just passes through, but isn't actually us. In essence, we step into the role of the observer, and in the role of the observer, we're able to witness our thinking as opposed to being our thinking. And if we're witnessing our thinking, we're not going to be at the mercy of it, because there's a separation between our thoughts and us.
I hear what you're saying, but then I also think that a lot of people struggle, especially in certain moments of high stress, when there's a lot going on, like even right now, trying to be present, but I'm getting messaged, I'm driving, there's a lot going on. And I think you and I do a fairly good job at just staying present, but a lot of people struggle to get that click in the first place. Were you always like this? Is this something you developed? If so, how did you develop it?
It's a continuous practice. I mean, I get caught up in my thinking all the time. I get moments when I get stressed out, or I get worried, or I act in ways that aren't really serving me. But seeing it as a practice of noticing my thinking, of catching myself, and each time I'm able to just catch myself and step into the role of noticing what I'm thinking, just that very act, just the noticing, immediately starts to create a separation. Because I'm stepping into the observer role as opposed to just being like under the puppet strings of my thoughts.
So it's about becoming conscious of those thoughts.
Yeah, stepping into the awareness of the thinking, and when you begin noticing them for what they are, just fleeting, just meaningless, not actually who you are, then they begin to lose their grip. And when they lose their grip, the mind begins to clear, because it's the nature of the mind to settle when we stop interfering. In essence, we have a natural buoyancy that we were born with. It's just we delay that buoyancy of returning to a clear mind because we keep interfering with our thinking.
Okay. But then my next question is, who are you?
If I peel back the layers, which has been a big part of everything I've explored, when I peel back the layers of the self and who I think I am, I see myself as just pure love, consciousness, life, awareness. And in other words, like, I believe that who we are beneath everything is just the space of God. To know yourself is to know God. And seeing that there is no separation between anyone or anything, it's all just one divine consciousness experiencing itself in different ways. And while we're here, we're almost in a state of being confined in this human consciousness, which is amazing, but beyond that is where we are everything.
So what is God to you?
My words could never reflect what this is trying to point to, but if I was to try to point to it, I see God as just the energy of everything, the entire universal consciousness. It's a divine love. It's a space where you are literally one with everything, and you're beyond space, you're beyond time. It's the nature of all things.
How did you get to that realization? A lot of introspective work, working with people?
Yeah, it was a lot of exploration, but the interesting thing is that whenever I dove into those directions, I had some of these insights. It felt like something I've always known, just forgotten. Because I believe that all of us have the same intelligence that's there, we just forget. So it's like a waking up to what you've already known, you just forgot for a while, and that's okay.
I mean, on that note, we've spoken about this before, but a lot of us have this inner child that, or like a lot of us as children were very playful, and at some point we lose that play in life, and we lose that just fun. How do you help people remind themselves that they still are that person, that joyful, playful spirit, and it's still there?
This is like one of my favorite topics, because like all of the business owners, entrepreneurs I work with, there's often a theme where things get too serious. Work becomes tense, pressured, stressful, overwhelming. Work feels like work, it doesn't feel like play.
Sorry.
And
Sorry, I'm gonna reverse this.
because as kids we're born with that playfulness, and we just forget over time. When you're a kid, anything can be playful, right? You can be in a room by yourself, you could have just a random pencil in your hand and find a way to make it playful, because you're coming from play. In essence, you're not taking things too seriously, you're light. And when we get caught up in the working world, in our business, whatever it is we're focusing on, because we're treating it as work and not as play, that's exactly what we experience. Because there's an understanding that if we don't see our work as play, then it is going to be work. But if we're no longer making a distinction between work and play, it all just becomes play. So for me, my day-to-day, like if I'm on calls, if I'm doing something, I look at just being playful with it, being play through it, and then it's never going to be as draining, it's never going to be as overwhelming and stressful, because I see my play as work and my work as play, and it's all just play. And the taking ourselves lightly, the taking things less seriously, the being willing to be a bit more childlike in our expression. This is why, just even practicing being a bit giddy or childlike with certain things, or even having some kind of a reminder, just having something that might remind you of your childhood, or what that energy was like, so you can tap into that way of being in anything that you do. And whenever I've noticed myself or other people get into that playful state, they're so much more creative, they're so much more resourceful, they're so much more energized.
Sorry, the police are stressing me out, that's why. I want to park properly, I'm just getting stressed with the fucking police. Like, I don't want them to be like, why you park dodgy? What reminds you of, you said to do things that remind you of your playful or your childhood's, your childlike state. What are things that you do for that?
So I have this, image of myself of when I was a kid, and I was a very mischievous, playful dude. So it's that's a great way for me to connect with it. Another thing I have is this little plushy toy thing that looks very cute. And the reason I got it is because it reminds me of childlike innocence. And that childlike innocence is a way to see that I don't need to judge myself, because I am innocent, I'm beyond my judgment, and I don't need to put all of that on me. And that's also an easier way to get into playfulness, because you're not weighed down in self-judgment. So having that, there was even a recent thing where I saw this Pikachu. I was like, that just encapsulates lightness and playfulness. So there's so many things that people can have that they'll personally connect with, and it's a great way to tap into it.
How can someone go about finding that for them if they maybe are a bit lost? They're like, what the fuck is
A useful reflection of practice for people to as a prompt to reflect on is to think about when they've felt most playful or childlike, or a time in their life when they felt most playful or childlike. Or if they were to try to visualize or think about something that just embodies, it could be fictional, it could be non-fictional, it could be real, fictional, whatever, just embodies innocence, embodies playfulness. And through them having that reflection, something will come to mind that will help them to connect with that state. But I think realizing that you don't need to grow out of playfulness. If anything, I've learned to become more playful as I got older, because there was a while that I forgot it and I thought it was stupid, or I thought it was silly, or I thought you need to be all serious and grown up. But I realized that's complete bullshit. What is the point in all of this if we're not having fun? I don't see it. So that's why it's been a return to that playfulness, and realizing that all of the seriousness you put into everything is actually completely unnecessary.
When was the last time you cried?
I'm actually trying to think. I cry quite often. I'm trying to think when the last time was. It would have been when I was a few weeks ago in the UK. There were times I've cried, obviously, from laughter. But I can cry at movies. I can cry at like just feeling moved by something, because I think it's a great way to just release energy and to feel whatever you're feeling. The exact moment right now isn't coming to my head, but I'm pretty sure it was like a few weeks ago.
That's okay. Well, you mentioned their energy. How do you replenish your own energy? Because a lot of people probably feel burnt out, right? And I'd argue it's because they're not doing enough to refill that cup.
Yeah, especially with entrepreneurs, there's an understanding that they need to grind all the time, which is also misunderstood.
Losers.
So I personally see that it's not necessarily about grinding all the time, because I'm not going to be in my best state if I'm compromising that. So finding ways to take care of myself, to be active, to recharge. But a big part of the energy is also, I'm not going to be as tired in general if I'm in a lighter state. So when people feel like they have to always try to replenish their energy, it's often not because of what they're doing, it's because of the day-to-day state they're living in. Getting caught up in their circumstances, getting stressed out, getting this or that, because their mind is not settled. And when you have a settled mind, your energy naturally is lasts a lot longer, because we're not, like, it's your brain uses most of your energy, right? That's a fact. So if we're always getting works up here, our energy is naturally going to feel depleted, which is why this understanding of being in a clearer state of mind is so important, because you actually won't need to necessarily do a sauna and cold plunge all the time, or hit the gym all the time, or do this, do that, because you're not draining yourself through your mind.
Yeah, I think that's fucking spitting sauce. That's facts. I also think the self-talk that we have too is important, and what we focus on, because maybe I'm just a bit weird like this, but you've lived with me for 2 weeks now. This morning I had to wake up at 6:30 to start filming content at 7, but I also went to bed at 2:30. Now there were two options. I had two choices because I was going to wake up. Now I had option A, which is to feel tired, tell myself I feel tired, and relate to that identity of like, oh, I'm tired, so it's okay that I act in this way. Or to be like, nah, I'm tired but don't matter, kind of thing. Because I really believe it. So if you can harness the self-talk that you have, like for example, me today, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm not doing the perfect job, but I feel like I don't act like I have 4 hours of sleep. And let's be honest, I still definitely have some sleep debt in the past few days too that still haven't fully caught up. So this isn't me at full capacity, and yet I don't let it hinder myself, because I think you can go through phases of periods of life, or maybe seasons is a nice way to put it, where, you know, maybe not everything is maybe not everything is optimal, but something that you do have complete control over is how you talk to yourself. And if you can harness that so it is something that is empowering rather than disempowering, it's something that can really serve you to be a better version of yourself, which allows you to then serve better other people and be that beacon of light for people.
Yeah, like literally what you said about this morning, you said it don't matter. Or it could have been, oh, this has ruined my day, this is what the day is going to be like, but you chose to feed a different possibility through who you were choosing to be. And that's why your energy is flying.
Yeah.
Another way to raw dog it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm quite. We can crop this out, but I'm genuinely interested. Have you learned anything from living with me so far? I've learned a lot from you. You can say no.
No. I just want to be intentional with how I think about it. Because you also do this. You take time to think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. 100%. Like, because just living with you, I've seen the way that your lifestyle is, where you're either out late, up early, doing things, meeting people, and you don't, like, no matter what's happening in your life or your circumstances, like, you don't allow it to impact your state or your experience of things. Like, you always find a way to create beauty out of what you're doing, and I think that's really cool. And another part of it is, like, you're just definitely, I think, one of the most powerful connectors, relationship builders that I've ever seen. And there's a lot as well for me to learn in that, just based on how you live your life, and everything that you're doing is like an example of how you live your life. That's also something I've taken a lot from, and this is coming down to catching your way of being, as because it's not like you're there just like telling me stuff. It's just something I can catch from your energy, catch from how you're doing things or how you're seeing things. And I think that's actually one of the best ways to even learn something, is if you're catching it from someone's energy, as opposed to like just them telling you something.
Yeah, that's true. I've learned a lot from you so far. I've learned a lot about coaching as an actual art, because I'm new to this, and it's weird because I like having you as a friend, because some of my other friends are more just info spacey, and it's just money. But for me, it's, I want to make money, I want to drive this every fucking day, but it's not just that. I like a bigger impact, I like deeper purpose, and I think you really do a good job at embodying that, which I think is really fucking cool to see. And you're just very legit. The other thing I've learned from you is, because I'm definitely sometimes like a bit impatient, I'm like, let's fucking go. I like working with speed. And I think in the best way possible, you're a helpful reminder that living with you is reminding me, okay, Pierre, you want to do this for the rest of your life, so it's okay. Like, it's a journey that's going to take time, and you're going to get better and better and better and better. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be as good as possible, as quick as possible, but also coming to an acceptance that it just takes as long as it takes. Plus, you'll actually never arrive, because there's nothing to arrive to, because you're already there.
Yes, there is no arrival. We're here. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you're saying that, because I've had to work on. When I say slowing down, I don't mean like sitting on the couch and slowing down.
No, it's not that.
Like slowing down as a way of being, slowing down in your thinking, not feeling like you're in this rushed, urgent state. And
it's more like you're just okay with it.
Yeah, and that has been like something I've had to work on a lot. So it's nice to hear that from you, because it was the complete opposite, not even that long ago. But I realized that the more I slow down in my way of being, it actually helps you to speed up long term, because your interactions become way more intentional, thoughtful. What you see, you're able to see opportunities and possibilities, because you're not rushed. And I also started to realize I don't have any control. Like, we think we have control. We think we're doing all of this. We're not. It's just our mind tells us we are.
So what is?
So there's I see it as you're on the plane, but you're not the pilot. So there is, sometimes we feel like we're the pilot, and yes, like, it looks like we're controlling everything, but like, I'll control this car and drive off, or I'll go and make my lunch, like, but we're not the thinker of thoughts. Thought just happens. So we look like we're controlling everything, but we're literally just along for the ride. And then the reason I'm saying this is a powerful thing to see is that it helps us to surrender and not be in this constant state of resistance and conflict with things that are going on, because we're allowing ourselves to just be guided and follow those intuitive nudges we have, follow our inner wisdom, realize that all of this chattering nonsense that happens isn't something we need to pay attention to all the time, because there is a deeper guidance that is happening. And the more I've been tuning into that, the more I've actually been meeting the people I need to meet, building the relationships I need to build, growing the business in a way that's way more fun and aligned with me, compared to trying to do it like the mind chattery way, where it's like I need to control all of this. And yeah, that's just it. There was also another thing I really got a lot from you over the last couple of weeks is it's just very refreshing to see how there's no fear of you just being yourself, of you sharing your own like openness, vulnerability, not having to pretend, not having to lie about anything or like make anything up. You're just you share who you are, and your own like confidence, authenticity doesn't get impacted by that because you're just secure in who you are. And I think that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I never thought of that. I definitely feel as if I come across authentically, because I get that market feedback a lot. But I don't know. I think I just stopped giving a shit,
Yeah.
to be honest. I think something so powerful is just realizing that nothing fucking matters. It's not that deep. Everything comes and goes. Is what it is. That kind of. That's why I called my community Raw Doggers, which is literally a dirty joke. It's about like just being like, fuck it, is what it is, and just not caring, but in a liberating way, not in a.
But this is the thing, like,
negative way.
I, as you've been talking about this and building this community, raw dogging is a way of being.
Yeah.
Right? So, in any moment,
Yeah.
in any moment, even something as simple as, if I was to raw dog this, what would that look like?
Yeah, you,
Right?
you start driving and be like,
Or like,
yeah,
what would raw dogging look like right now? Because it helps you to get into the state of it, even if you can't quite. Because raw dogging could look different in different moments.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly, right? It's not just one thing. Like, it's a way of being that kind of looks at who do I need to be in this moment, and that may change from time to time, but it helps to assume that state. So it's a really like great way to invite people to step into it.
I'd say that raw dogging is like I'm very proud of that name because I think it's a good overarching summary of my fucking philosophy. How would you, if you had to summarize your philosophy in a few words, how would you do so? It's a good fucking question.
Oh, it's a very good question. Okay. The immediate thing that came to my head is I am. Right, the I am is it's in essence a space beyond all of the bullshit. It's a space beyond everything that you think about yourself. Like, I am just encapsulates like your true nature beneath the self. In essence, everything that you want to become, everything that you see as possible for your life is available in this I am, because that's the space of being. It's a space of consciousness. It's a space where you can assume any form you need to in the moment because it's your nature. We just forgot. So we have this like innate tool, gift, wisdom, whatever you want to call it. It's just we've forgotten we have it, and we literally have everything we've ever needed, and there's nothing missing, there's nothing you need to figure out, there's nothing you need to work on because it's all already there.
There's very power of Naui.
Yeah.
In a good way. It's true though. So if I said, who's Camille? I kind of asked you before. What would you say? Not Jedi.
Jedi was it. No, the simplest way for me to see that is just I am love, and that's it.
I sometimes struggle with that. I'm just like, I'm me. And it's funny because I think when, interested in your take on this, but I think for myself, I think because I embody myself so, I'm just like so me. It's funny sometimes seeing people introduce me because they're like, this is Piero. And they're like, he's not, they don't really know what to call me. They don't really know how to label it. It's just like this, no, it's just this guy, you have to meet him. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be cool if more people kind of did that. That's what I'm trying to do with the Raw Doggers, is just have people really lean into just, I think it's quite cool when you're just introduced as you. This is Camille, just meet him. Doesn't matter what he does, because what he does isn't who he is. often you have to introduce people and you have to be like, this person, or you need to meet him because he does this. And then people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'll go meet him because it's aligned with my business, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, meet this guy because he's, you know? But it's like always for a reason. Versus just meet this guy because he's him.
Yeah, you become a lot more present and able to see who someone is beyond any label that you give them.
Mm.
And I think that's something that we don't do enough, where we just try to be with something without labeling it. Or slapping on something so we can know what it is. And this idea of who are you, it's like a name is just something we're given, and then we just think, okay, that's me now. But this is why there's this journey of like refinding yourself, rediscovering yourself, learning who you are beneath it all, and in a very spiritual woo direction. It's like, I just see everyone's on a journey of just remembering and forgetting right now. Because in that remembering and forgetting, you pick up so much wisdom, knowledge, learning, and from there there's a whole journey after that, but we're just coming back to who we already are. Like, we're just searching for ourselves, but we just search in the wrong direction sometimes because we believe that's where the answer is, and it's not.
Well, if you could go back to Camille, you're 28, or nearly 29, or nearly 28, nearly 29.
29 next month, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This month.
Yeah. If you could go back to Camille, let's say 20, how would you help him find direction?
I wouldn't. I would say, I'm proud of you. You're okay. You always will be. Keep going. And you're loved.
What do you do when things get tough? Things feel tough?
I give myself self-compassion, first of all, because in those moments it can be easy to judge yourself because you get caught up. So a big part of it is giving myself some grace, being kind to myself in that moment, pausing.
How do you go about that?
A weird way to describe it, it's almost like giving yourself this internal hug and safety, and just feeling that love for you, and giving yourself that acknowledgement, that space of just that like, yeah, you're okay, man. I've got you. I'm here for you. I love you. And from there, starting to pause, notice, and again, not get as caught up in my thinking, and just see what presents itself as the next thing to do.
And why do you feel like that's so important for you?
Because I've seen what it's like when I judge myself harshly, and it looks like it makes sense, but I realize it doesn't. And I realize my best thinking happens when I'm in a clearer state and when I'm kind to myself, compared to when I'm stressed, overworked, pressurized. And we don't tend to treat others like, it's easy to be kind to someone else and think, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do, but then you won't do it to yourself. That's the interesting thing. Like, if a friend was going through a bad time, you wouldn't then slap them. You'd give them love and say, like, like, I'm here. But then...
Why do most people slap themselves? Because I completely agree with you.
There's definitely some early conditioning to do with it, because when you're a kid, you don't even think to do it. It's not even in your paradigm to be nasty to yourself. So there's definitely learned behavior that comes with it, and then that learned behavior becomes justified and reinforced as this is what makes sense to do because it's going to motivate me more. I'm going to learn from this, or whatever story we have around self-judgment. So it becomes like a rule that we have, and then realizing we're making this thing up completely. We've created an entire relationship with ourselves in the process of buying into this self-judgment, and now it can be a way to just thinking, well, how can I change the relationship I have with myself now? And a big part of that is going to be self-forgiveness. when I say self-forgiveness, I mean, if we judge ourselves, like, forgiving the judgment. Like, in that moment, saying, like, even just if you were to consciously say, I forgive myself for judging myself. Just doing that, there's like a reset. It's like a bounce back. And in that bounce back, you'll be lighter, you'll be clearer, and you can realize, you know, it's okay. I didn't need to judge myself.